This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, it's recording now. Thanks. So there is only slight difference that there will be no hierarchy in this non-hierarchical clustering. That's it. Apart from that, everything will be same. Concept remains same. So let us try to understand K-means clustering concept, and then we'll jump into practical implementation. Here, predetermined number of non-overlapping clusters. So you should specify how many clusters you need. You can specify I need 5 clusters, I need 4 clusters, I need 10 clusters, but this is mandatory that you should specify how many clusters you need, that is predetermined number. Non-overlapping clusters. See, your cluster should not be overlapping like this, or it should not be like this. So your clusters should be having some distance between each other. Distance between each other. That is the reason it is called as non-overlapping cluster. You should build predetermined number of non-overlapping clusters, and this is your non-hierarchical clustering, and the non-hierarchical clustering name is called as k-means clustering. Non-hierarchical clustering is called as k-means clustering, and hierarchical clustering, it is called as hierarchical clustering itself. And the cluster definition remains same as it is. Clusters are homogeneous yet dissimilar to other clusters. Yet dissimilar to other clusters in the sense, if you're talking about computer science cluster, and remaining all the clusters will be in different cluster. So I'm just separating my computer science cluster. Clusters are homogeneous, similar. Homogeneous means they are similar and yet dissimilar to other clusters. Yet dissimilar to other clusters. And when it comes to your k-means clustering or non-hierarchical clustering, you should understand the measurement. How do you measure the performance? Like, this is how you need to understand. So this is very important. So these two concepts are very important: within cluster similarity and between cluster similarity. Need measures. So once you build your non-hierarchical clustering, the output will give you within cluster similarity, how much they are similar to each other, and how much is your cluster similarity between other clusters. So as it is, the word itself says within cluster. Consider that this is my computer science cluster, this is my information science cluster, this is my electrical and communication, this is something civil, for example. These are my separate clusters: cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, and cluster 4. Need measures of within cluster similarity. Consider that there are 100 students in computer science cluster. Number of students will be there in your cluster computer science. So you need to measure the distance. So each and every, your normal k-means clustering or non-hierarchical clustering works on a concept of centroid linkage. Works on a concept of centroid linkage, and this centroid linkage says that it is like this. See, centroid linkage will explain this in this way. So this is your centroid. For example, this is your class CR, class representative, and remaining all the students are there. So it will try to calculate the distance within each and every students, from the class representative. That is called as within cluster similarity. Within cluster similarity. Need measures of within cluster similarity means within a single cluster or within a single department, you are going to calculate the measure. You're going to calculate the measure. That is called as your within cluster similarity, means all the students are belonging to one cluster. That is homogeneity. That is homogeneity. Second one is called as your between cluster dissimilarity. So this is your computer science, information science, electronics, mechanical, civil, like this. So this will have one centroid, this will have one centroid, this will have one centroid. Each and every department has one HOD or one class representative, one class CRs, for example. That is called as your centroid. So you will calculate the distance between this centroid and this centroid, this centroid and this centroid, this centroid and this centroid, this centroid and this centroid. Next, these two, these two, these two. Next, these two, these two. Next, these two. So if you are calculating the measure, between clusters, then it is called as between cluster dissimilarity. How much am I dissimilar to? Computer science is how much dissimilar to information science. Information science is how much dissimilar to electronics, like this. So you are calculating the measure between clusters. It is not inside a cluster, it is between clusters. That is called as your between cluster dissimilarity. Between cluster dissimilarity. And very, very important part of this K-means clustering is, as the name itself says, it is non-hierarchical clustering. Non-hierarchical clustering, it is no hierarchy. No hierarchy. No hierarchy means there is no chance of getting a tree-like structure like your dendrogram. There is no tree-like structure. That is the reason it is called as no hierarchy or non-hierarchical clustering. Final product will be your cluster membership. Means you will not get any tree-like structure. You are going to tell that Rakesh belongs to computer science, Manju belongs to electronics, Ratnesh belongs to electronics, Ratnesh and Manju belongs to electronics, and Lahari belongs to information science, Ram belongs to information science. Like this, you're going to group. That is called as your this thing. But you'll not get like this. Here you're not going to get Rakesh is here, Lahari is here, or Neha is here, Bharat is here, or Ram is here, or Ratnesh is here. You're not going to get any tree-like structure. You'll be getting only the end product as final cluster membership, like this. Rakesh belongs to first one, Ratnesh belongs to third cluster, Lahari belongs to second cluster, Ram belongs to second cluster. You're going to get like this. That is why it is called as end product is final cluster membership, and it is called as your non-hierarchical clustering. And remember one thing, if you plot your output of your non-hierarchical clustering or K-means clustering, you are not going to get your dendrogram. Dendrogram is nothing but no tree-like structure. You are not going to get tree-like structure. It has been clearly highlighted. And this K-means clustering is useful for large data sets. Now let me ask you a question. So consider that you're running a startup company with 10 employees. Can I plot this 10 employees tree-like structure? Yes or no? Yes, easily I can plot. For example, see here, CEO is here, and under CEO there are two delivery managers, for example. Under him two project managers, PM, 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 and under him two employees, whatever it is. So this is called as your hierarchical clustering. Suppose if you're having 10 lakh employees or 5 lakh employees, like your Accenture, we are having 4 lakh employees globally. So now your company Accenture CEO lies here, and under him there will be multiple MDs. In the sense, in Accenture, if you talk about Accenture, we have approximately around 40 to 50,000 MDs. I'm talking only about MDs, only 40 to 50,000. Just imagine how big it would be. Hierarchy. Under each and every MD, there might be senior delivery managers, multiple senior delivery managers, like this. Is it possible to draw your hierarchical structure or dendrogram if you're large data set? If you're having large data set, it's not that easy to plot your hierarchical clustering. So that is the reason, if you're having huge number of data sets or large number of data sets, you go for K-means clustering. Is it clear for everyone what is K-means clustering? I'm going to show you the implementation part now. Rakesh, Manju, Neha, Ratnesh.
Yogesh, when you say centroid linkage, does it
Yes.
mean the distance, or what exactly do you mean by
Yes,
linkage?
centroid linkage in the sense, this is your one cluster, computer science, and this is your information science. For example, this is your HOD and all the staff members, non-technical staff, everyone are there. And here also same. And one HOD is there. So if you are calculating the distance between the HODs of computer science department and the information science HODs distance, that is called as your centroid linkage. Means you are not going to compare with respect to all the employees. You are just contacting only the
Spox.
head of the department
Spox of
or
the head.
center. Yes, department of the head or whatever it is, center of the head or whatever it is. So center of the cluster, you can call it as center of the cluster is being considered as your, if you are measuring the distance between center point of the clusters, then it is called as centroid linkage.
Yogesh, we need to find out the centroid some manually, or we had some formula for
You
that.
cannot find, you cannot find manually centroid. Centroid will be automatically taken care by your k-means clustering algorithm.
Okay.
Can you explain the third point, Yogesh? Need measures of within cluster similarity.
Yes, yes. One sec. See, consider that you are having two clusters. Okay, so within cluster similarity means you are only comparing within this cluster. How much is, see, simple example I'm going to give you, Rakesh. For example, you are in computer science branch and you are in third semester or in some section you are in. So you are identifying how much you are similar to your friends. How much is your friend similar to you, means with respect to marks, or it can be whatever it is, or whatever it is. So you're not going out of this cluster. Within means what?
Section.
Within a section or within a cluster. So this is called as your within cluster similarity, means you are calculating the similarity. Similarity means how much are you similar, how much are you close to your friends, how much are you close to your friends within a class. That is called as your within cluster similarity. Means you are calculating the distance between each and every data point in this cluster. Like this.
So this is a prerequisite for calculating the k-means.
It is not a prerequisite, it will be your output. This will be your output. These two will be your output. Once you build your non-hierarchical clustering or k-means clustering, you're going to get this output results. You need to understand that. See, for example, ABCDE is your cluster 1. You need to calculate between what is the distance between AB, AC, AD, AE. Next, BC, BD, BE. Next, CD, CE. Next, DE. So you are just calculating within a single class how much are you similar to your friends, or your friend is similar to you, whatever it is. So you are doing all the combinations. A and B is 1, AC is 2, AD is 3, AE is 4, BC is 3, BD is 2, BE is 1, CD is 1.2, CE is 8, D is 3. Addition of all these things, you're going to get one value that is called as your within cluster similarity. Within cluster similarity. Clear?
Okay.
And if you're having second cluster, again second cluster, same way it will calculate. Again third cluster, it will calculate within this. That is within cluster similarity. Suppose if you're having multiple clusters like this, multiple in the sense you'll be having more than one cluster. So you're going to calculate the distance between this centroid and this centroid, this centroid and this centroid, and this centroid and this centroid. That is A, B, C, D. AB, AC, AD you will calculate. And again, you will calculate between B and C and B and D. BC, BD. Only with respect to centroid you are going to calculate here. And next CD. Next you will calculate with respect to CD, and addition of all these things you are going to get your between cluster dissimilarity. Between cluster dissimilarity. You are comparing yourself within a class and between your computer science section and mechanical section, that is called as your between clusters. And if you are calculating within a single classroom, it is called as within cluster similarity. Within cluster similarity. Clear, Rakesh now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let us try to implement k-means clustering. It's easy. So let me try to explain you how it is working. Delete everything. For k-means clustering, just import this package or install this package called as PLYR. So I'm going to use a 50 random numbers, and also I'm going to show you how to implement using your university's dataset as well. Both together I'm going to show you. So install.packages PLYR, I've already installed it. I'm not going to install once again. And you can just see this library of PLYR. So once I use this PLYR, you can see this PLYR here. So this PLYR has been selected over here, and that is the reason I've used this function called as library of PLYR. Now, what is this? Can somebody read this? Can somebody read this? Please read this. No, I'm asking you to read.
Yeah, run if 50.
It is not runif, it is runif. Remember that it is your runif. Runif is a function which is used to generate 50 random uniform numbers. 50 random uniform numbers. Now I'm going to create 50 random uniform numbers and store it in a variable called as x. So now if you want to see what is there in x, these are the 50 random numbers that I've generated in, stored it in a variable called as x. Store it in a variable called as x. And similar way, I'm going to randomly generate next 50 numbers. See, one more important thing, you are generating randomly. If you run or if I run once again, I'll not be getting same numbers, I'll be getting different numbers. And also if you run it, you are going to get different numbers because it is random. It is random. So once again, I'm going to run another 50 random uniform numbers and store it in a variable called as y. Store it in a variable called as y. You can see that y is also been created. Y is also been created with 50 random uniform numbers. Now what does this line of code does?
So it creates, it merges two columns and creates
Column
a
bind.
data set.
Column bind.
What it does? Column bind is correct. C bind is column bind, correct. Then what it does?
So it merges two columns and creates a data set.
Yes. Okay. Now suppose consider that this line, I'm going to run this line C bind of x comma y. Okay. So your x is having 50 records. Your y is having 50 records. Okay. Now if I run this line of code and store it in a variable called as data, and what will be the dimension of this data set? What will be the dimension?
50, 2.
100.
50 rows, 2 columns.
100.
Yes, it
50,
will not be
2.
100. It will be 50, 2. You should tell always with respect to rows, columns.
Okay.
Rows, columns. You can see here it is 50, 2. 50, 2. And what about this plot of data? What it does? Line number 13. What it does? Plot of data. What is the function?
Scatter plot of x and y.
Yes, it will plot your scatter plot of x comma y. For example, now you're having 50 numbers, right? So see here, this is your x and y. This is your x and y. So it is going to take x axis and y axis here, and it will take first one 0.18. 0.18 is somewhere here x axis. For example, 0.1 I'll put here, 0.2 I'll put somewhere here. Between that 0.18 will come, and 0.05. So here it might come first point. Second point 0.08 x axis, it might come somewhere here, and 0.41 it might come somewhere here. Like this, it is going to plot all the 50 numbers on your scatter plot, that is on x axis and y axis. X axis and y axis. Is it clear for everyone? So let me try to plot it and show you how does this 50 looks. Plot of data. So as I've zoomed in, I guess, so I'll be using an external function called as windows to plot your, see, this is your plot, and sorry, this is your plot, scatter plot. See, all the 50 points have been plotted on this x-axis and y-axis, but I want to see which one is my first one, which one is my second one, which one is my third one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this function. So plot of data, as it is plot of data, comma, type is equal to n, type is equal to null, I'm going to do. Type is equal to null, I'm going to do. So null means it is going to make everything as blank. Everything as blank. And here I'm typing with respect to text. Means whatever the zeros you had, right, circles in your scatter plot, that one I'm going to replace with your text of your data, and I'm taking the row names from your data set, that is nothing but your first one, second one, third one. So what is this row names, row numbers and row address called as, Bharat, in your database? There is one word called as for these two, row numbers and row address. Yes, it is your pseudo columns. It is your pseudo columns. So like this, you are taking your row names and it will display your first one, second one, third one, fourth one, like that it is going to display. So let me try to run this line of code and see where is my first one, where is my second one. First one is here, second one is here, third one will be somewhere. So all these 50 data points, see, 50th, 25th, 30th, 22nd, 44, like this, all the 50 data points are scattered in my x-axis and y-axis, and you can see here there is some overlap also. There is some overlap also, right? So because of this overlap, if you use this entire some names, for example, you have given your names like this. Here it is Rakesh, for example, and one more is overlapping, that is your Ratnesh. Are you able to read these two?
No.
Now I'm telling it as
No.
Rakesh and Ratnesh, it is fine. But if it is written like this, overlap like this, you'll not be able to read this. So that's the reason we go with simple circles. Simple circles when it comes to your scatter plot. Now, in your non-hierarchical clustering, you need not have to calculate the distance. Everything will be taken care by your k-means function. That is your non-hierarchical clustering. So for implementation of your non-hierarchical clustering, you can see this k-means. K-means is a function to implement your k-means clustering algorithm. And what is this data? What is this data?
It's the
What
new
is this
data set
data?
that you have created.
X and Y
Data
data
Columns.
set. Data
Yes,
set.
it is nothing but the data set name. Here, see here. Data set name, it including x, comma, y.
Y.
So what is this for?
Or is number of cluster.
Yes, your k-means cluster, right? K means. So you should specify how many clusters you want. 4 means, 5 means, 6 means. Predetermined non-overlapping clusters. You are determining how many clusters you need, so that I'm going to specify it as 4 clusters I need. I can change it to 5. I'll change it to 5. And I'm going to store this non-hierarchical clustering algorithm output in a variable called as km. Or else I can give any name, model 1, model 2, or whatever name I want, I can assign it. So as of now, I'm going to give it as km. I've run this algorithm. I want to see the output of this algorithm.
So
I
the
want to see the
Yogesh, the 5 means how many number of clusters you want to make it, right?
yes, number of clusters.
The groupings.
Yes, that is what number of clusters.
Okay.
And I want to see the output of your k-means algorithm. So either you can click on this km, or you can see here everything is there. Or if you don't want to see from here, you can use a function called as str, structure of your km. Km is nothing but your non-hierarchical clustering model name. Structure of model name, if you specify, it is going to display your output. You should understand this output. Until and unless you understand this output, you will never be able to learn non-hierarchical clustering. See, km is your model name, that is non-hierarchical k-means clustering model name you have implemented and stored. And what is this km dollar cluster? What is it? Can anyone try this?
The position of
The created clusters.
the number. Position of the number in the clusters. I mean, first number is in cluster number 4. Second number is in
Yes.
cluster number 4. Like that.
Yes. Totally, we are having 50 numbers, right? 50 numbers. First number belongs to 4th cluster. Second number, 4th cluster. Third number, 5th cluster. Fourth number, 2nd cluster. So this will display your which cluster number your record belongs to. Consider that this is your 50 students data. First student belongs to 4th cluster. Second student belongs to 4th cluster, like this. So totally we are having 50 records. It is not only stopped here. You can see there are 3 points. You can see that there are 3 points. So you can see that it is until your 50 points. Now, so each and every cluster will have one centroid, right? One centroid, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So how many centroids will be there? We have specified I need 5 clusters. How many centroids will be there?
5 centroids.
5 centroids, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one sec. Now, here you can see centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still it is going. Why? It's your common sense question. Try to give a thought. I'll give you 2 minutes of time. Try. Why we are having more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and still it is there? Why?
It is between the records also.
No. It is only centroids. Between the records, nothing. Total, within, nothing. It is only centroids. Even though if it is wrong, give a try. No problem. I'll explain you. No idea? So consider this is your
10
x-axis and y-axis,
centroids.
right? Huh?
10 centroids are there.
Why it will be 10?
Like between 1 and 5, between 1 and 2, 1 and 3,
No.
1 and 4. Like,
No.
no.
You'll have only one centroid. See, between
Okay.
1 and 5, that is not centroid. This is centroid for cluster A. This is centroid for cluster B, like that. So why it is 10 clusters? Why it is 10 centers is like this. So this is one cluster, this is another, this is another, this is another, this is another. So all the data points are spread like this. Yes, all the data points are spread like this. So this is one centroid, this is one centroid, this is another centroid, this is another centroid, this is another centroid. If I choose this centroid, I'm going to get x-axis for this,
And
y-axis for this, x-axis for this, y-axis for this, x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis. So you're having two columns, right? Your data is having only x and y. So this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, and you're having 5 clusters. So 5 into 2 is how many? 10 values. 10 values. See, I'm going to run like this. See. See, I'll run like this. KM dollar centers. So it will display like this. See, first cluster centroid is this one. Second cluster centroid is this one. Third cluster centroid is like this, because it is x-axis and y-axis. Got it? Clear for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Now coming to once more your output part. This is done. Now coming to your TOTSS. TOTSS. So forget about TOTSS. I'm going to come back to this once we complete all this remaining. So this is called as your within cluster similarity. Within cluster similarity is denoted by within SS, and you're having 5 clusters as we have specified in our output. We have 5 clusters, and you can see here 5 numbers. So this is nothing but your you're having some records like this, some records, some records, some records, some records. It will calculate the distance between each and every within a cluster. You'll be getting something that is one value. This between this, within this, you're going to calculate. This is second value. Like this, you're going to get first cluster, second cluster, third cluster, fourth cluster, and fifth cluster. All the clusters within cluster similarity. Within cluster similarity, how much they are similar. Within one single cluster, this is the value: cluster A, cluster B, cluster C, cluster D, cluster E. So this is called as your within cluster similarity. Coming to total within cluster similarity is addition of all these things. Plus, 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 plus. Addition of all these things is nothing but your 1.49. 1.49. Coming to this point. It is between cluster similarity. Between cluster similarity, as I told you, it will be A, B, C cluster, D cluster, because I have specified 5 clusters. I have 5 clusters. Between AB, AC, AB, AC, AD, AE. Next, BC, BD, BE. BC, BD, BE. Next, CD, CE, CD, CE. Next, DE, DE. So it will calculate everything. Suppose you get 1, 2, 2.3, 5.5, everything. Addition of all these things is called as your between cluster similarity. Between cluster similarity. Clear? Clear for everyone what is within cluster similarity, total within cluster similarity, and between cluster similarity.
Yogesh, can you tell me once again the total within?
Total within is nothing but addition of all these things. Plus, 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 plus. Always, remember one point, always within cluster similarity should be close to each other. Within cluster similarity should be less, means total within cluster similarity should be very less, and between cluster similarity should be high. Between cluster similarity should be high. Here you can see, here it is, total within cluster similarity is 1.49 and between cluster similarity is 7.1, because each and every student within a class, within a computer section class will be similar to each other, so they are close, so they are having minimum distance between them. So if you are talking about computer science and mechanical department, their distance should be more, between cluster similarity should be more. Clear for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, now what about this okay, now coming to your total cluster similarity. Addition of total within cluster similarity plus between cluster similarity, addition of these 7.1 and 1.49 is nothing but your total cluster similarity. Addition of these two is called as your total cluster similarity. And the last one is your size. Size is nothing but, can you tell me what is this size? What is this size?
Size
So
of
it's
each
1
cluster.
or 5.
Yes, first cluster is having 10 records. Second cluster is having 15,
15.
like this. Third cluster 8. Addition of all this will become 50 records. Number of observations in each and every cluster.
This example, Yogesh, we've taken a random set of 50 numbers, right?
Yes, random set of 50 numbers.
Just as an example. Okay.
Yes, just an example. Now, iteration is 2. Iteration is 2. Iteration is 2. So what is this iteration is 2 in the sense? For example, consider that you are in first year engineering. So you'll select one CR. You'll select one CR for each and every class. And these CRs are not good in your second year. What do? You'll change the CR, right? In second year? Second year, you are going to change your class representative because it is not favorable. So there might be, he might be very close to his friends. He might be very not close to his friends or something. So that is the reason number of iterations will go on until and unless there is non-overlapping cluster. Consider that you are getting, in first iteration, you are getting clusters like this. Cluster means they both are very close to each other. They both are having very minimum distance. So your k-means clustering will not stop until this point. It will stop until and unless there is some minimum distance between clusters like this. Until and unless there is some minimum distance between the clusters, it will keep on iterating it. It will keep on iterating it. I'll just show you one sample. I'll just show you one sample. Please try to understand how does that centers will keep on changing. For that, it is not used for your real time. I'm just showing for your understanding purpose. How does your centers change? How does your centers keep on changing? So for that, you need to install a package called as animation. To just have a look, you can just see this. And here, after animation package has been used, there is a function called as k-means.ani. K-means.ani. And you can see here, I'm passing my data set called as data. and I'm giving it as 4 clusters. I'm giving it as 4 clusters, and you can see this. I'm going to run this. I'm going to run this. So if I run this, I'll get an error because figure margin is too large. So what I'll do is I'm going to write one Windows function, and I'm going to toggle between the chats. Please try to understand here. So this is your blank chat now. If I run this line of code, 31, see here what it does. Observe this, because it is animation. This is your animation. See, every time your centroid is keep on changing. Every time your centroid is keep on changing, and it will stop once your iteration is feels your k-means clustering algorithm feels that it is clearly observed. So I'll run once again. Please try to see that k-means clustering algorithm, how it keeps on changes here. What it will do is, first thing, it will plot your scatter plot. So let me just explain you how does it work first, then once again I'm going to show you. So this is your 50 data points which are on your x-axis and y-axis. In first time, it is going to select some randomly 4 centroids, and these centroids will try to calculate the distance between each and every data point, and this also will do the same thing. Each and every data point, it will calculate the distance. All 4 centroids will do same thing. For this, what I'll do is I'll plot your plot of data and explain. See, this is your 50 data points which are spread over x-axis and y-axis. So this will select this one as centroid, this one as centroid, this one as centroid, this one as centroid. For example, out of this, one as centroid, for example. Now, what it does is it will try to calculate the distance between each and every data point from here until this point. It will try to calculate distance between each and every record in your cluster. That is nothing but your entire data set. Same way this will also do. This is your second cluster centroid. It will also try to calculate the distance between each and every data point. Same thing this also will do. This will also try to calculate the distance between each and everything. And same thing this one also will do. This will also try to calculate the distance between every point, and after calculating the distance, whichever is closer to this, that will form as one cluster. Whichever is closer to this will form one cluster. Whichever is closer to this will form. So whichever is closer to this will form one cluster. Got it? And now see that there might be very close to each other, so that's the reason. Again, in second iteration, your k-means algorithm changes their centroid. It will identify this as cluster centroid, this as centroid, this as centroid, this as centroid. Again, the distance will be calculated. Whichever is closer to this centroid, that will form as one centroid, and this will form as another cluster. This will form as another. Like this, it will keep on solving until and unless there is some large distance between the clusters. Let me try to plot this k-means.any. Once again, just see this animation. How does it changes? k-means.any. I'm going to run once again. Please see this. Let me run this Windows. One sec. See here. Every time it keeps on changes its centroid until and unless there is non-overlapping cluster and your k-means feels that this is the best cluster approach. See here. So this is my final cluster. It has changed here cluster multiple times and it has obtained this final cluster. This is how your real-time clustering k-means clustering algorithm works. But as it is two-dimensional, see x and y, right? As it is two-dimensional because you're having y-axis here, x-axis here, you can plot your animation and I can show you. That is the reason I've used randomly uniform numbers and explain you how does this clustering works. Because in your university data set, we are having 6 columns like SAT score, top 10, acceptance ratio, student faculty ratio. You're not able to do that over there. So that is the reason I've taken this example as random 50 numbers. So this is how it works. This is how it works. And I'm going to implement using university dataset, same thing. So you should tell me now what does this particular line of code does. Each and every line you should tell me what does this line of code does. So I'm going to import my data set.
Excel file.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Yes.
imports the Excel file and put it on a
Yes,
variable.
it imports an Excel file
input.
because yes. Universities underscore clustering. I'm going to import a data set from my, because I don't have Java installed, my XLSX is not working. So I'm going to use this method to import a data set. Import Excel data set. So click on browse. Let me see whether it is Excel or CSV. I don't remember that. Okay, it is Excel. It is Excel. I'll just change the input file name called as university underscore clustering into input. Okay, this is my data set. Click on OK. So this is my data set, university, state, SAT, top 10, acceptance ratio, everything. So now what does this line of code does? Line number 47.
So it reads first to 25 rows and it excludes second column.
Yes. And it will exclude second column because second column is nothing but your state. I'm not interested in that. I want to drop this column. So I'm going to drop that and create a new variable called as my data. Now if you open your my data, you can see that it is university, SAT, top 10, acceptance ratio, student faculty ratio, expenses and graduation rate. And if you open your input file, it is state column is this. State column we have removed now. State column. Now, what does this line of code does? Bharat, can you tell me what does this line of code does?
It normalizes the data. I mean, it removes all the units.
Yes, it normalizes the data or standardizes the data because you're having scaling issue and also each and every column has different units. You're going to remove this. You're going to remove
Units.
Units means you're making it as unitless, and one more thing is scaling issue. Because one is in tens, another is in thousands, another is in 10,000s. So I'm going to remove that by using a function. So z equal to x minus mu divided by sigma is a function to do your standardization, that is manual calculation. So if you want to do it in R, there is a function called as scale, and you are passing what is this parameters, my data, why it is from second column to seventh column, why first column is not included. Your first column is your university names, right? University names, not output. University names. So that is the reason you're not going to use that first column. So I'm going to standardize my data and store it in a variable called as normalized underscore data. You can change it to your name, whatever you want. See, I have normalized the data and stored it in a variable called as normalized underscore data. You can see this. Earlier your expenses was 35, 45, 55,000. Graduation rate was 80%, 90% like this. Now everything is standardized. Everything is standardized. So this process is called as your standardization or normalization. Standardization or normalization. What does this line of code does?
Yes.
So we are going to use K-means algorithm
Yes,
to create
you are
5 clusters.
High class.
Yes, you are implementing your k-means algorithm on this normalized data set, normalized underscore data, and you are specifying that you need 5 clusters.
Clusters.
You need 5 cluster and storing this output in a variable called as
Fit.
fit. I'm going to run this. I'm going to run this. I want to see the output of my model. So it is nothing but structure of fit, str of fit. You can see here it is same. K means clustering output. Your first university belongs to third cluster, second university belongs to first cluster, third university belongs to second cluster, and these are your cluster centroids. So now my simple question is, how many cluster centroids values will be present here? We have specified 5 clusters, right? How many cluster centroids will be there?
10.
10.
Wrong. Use your common sense.
It's 30 totally.
Who is
Sorry.
this?
Ram.
Ram. How about others? Sanjay, Debanshu, Bharat, Rakesh, Ratnesh, Manju?
Yeah, it's 30. 30.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, 30, right.
Yes, it is 30 because you are having 6 columns, right? SAT
Six
score,
columns,
top
yes.
10, acceptance ratio, student faculty ratio, graduation rate and expenses, and 5 clusters. 5 clusters with all the 6 columns has to be represented, right? So that is the reason. Here you can see here it is 5 clusters and how many dimension it is? 6 dimension. 5 into 6 is 30.
30.
So 30 values will be present. So that 30 values, if you want to see, you can write it as fit dollar centers. Fit dollar centers. If you write, you are going to get it. And also you can see the clue here: 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. And here 1 to 6 is SAT, top 10, acceptance ratio, student faculty ratio, expenses, graduation, right, like this. And you can see here within cluster similarity is this much. Addition of this and this will give you this, right? Yes, everything remains same. Totally size is totally 25 clusters have been formed within 5 clusters. Your second cluster is having only 1 university, right? Your second cluster is having only 1 university, and fifth cluster is having only fifth cluster is having only 3 universities. 3 universities. So let me just run that fit dollar centers for your understanding. That's it. Fit dollar. That score, top 10, acceptance ratio, as I told you, it will be 5 into 6, 30. You can see it is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 into 6 is 30. 5 into 6 is 30. Now what does this line of code does? Rakesh, try this. Rakesh, even though if it is wrong, try this, Rakesh.
It adds both.
Correct. Go ahead.
The normalized data and this thing.
Wrong, Manju. Sorry, Rakesh, wrong. Manju, can you tell?
Yeah, it shows the cluster number along with the university which it stands.
Yes.
That is absolutely.
Yes. So your original data set is there, right? My data. It is adding your cluster number to each and every record, and it is going to combine your final data set. It is going to create one data set called as final 2, and in your final 2 you can see like this. See, Rakesh, once again. Yes, cluster number with final data. See, Brown belongs to third cluster, Caltech belongs to first cluster. Until this point, it was your original data set. You added this, you have added this cluster number. Yes, cluster number with my data, correct. You should see the variable names. Rakesh, nothing. See, there is no rocket science. You should just see here what is my data. My data is your original data set. What is this fit? Fit is nothing but your algorithm name. And I explained you what is this fit dollar cluster. You can just add all those things and you can tell me this. So this line is of no use. This is written for something. Now this line, what does this line do?
Aggregate my data.
What does this line of code does?
Does it calculate the mean?
Yes, correct. Mean is correct, but how? Based on that, tell me. Answer is correct, mean.
For column 2 is 2 to 7.
See, don't tell me 2 to 7, one person, function mean, one person, entire line I'm asking you the code.
Finding the centers of each cluster.
Centers. It is not
I mean centroid.
centers. No.
Mean.
Centroid is already done. It is simple. For each column, list out the mean of each cluster. Correct, Muralidhar? Yes. See, it is nothing but simple. It is, you're having 5 clusters, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this cluster is having 8 universities. This cluster is having 1 university. This is having 3. This is having 9. This is having 6, for example. Take it as like this. So out of these 8 universities, what is the aggregate SAT score? What is the aggregate top 10? What is the aggregate graduation rate? What is the aggregate? What is the aggregate? What you call? Expenses. Like this, you're going to calculate your aggregate, your values based on your second column to your 7th column, second column to your 7th column. What is your second column to 7th column? From SAT score to top 10, right? SAT score to
top 10.
Not top 10, graduation rate. See here, my data, right? See here. It's simple. If you go to my data, here, my data. So from second column, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the columns you are taking aggregate based on the clusters. Based on the clusters you are taking. So that is the reason I've written it as aggregate function with respect to second column to 7th column based on, it is something like your group by function. Hope you remember now at least. By cluster number, you are taking the average of SAT score, top 10, graduation rate, expenses, and student faculty ratio, everything. So you are taking the average of all the columns and you're grouping based on cluster numbers. Group by department ID. Haven't you done this? Group by department number? Like this. It is like this. So I'm going to run this line of code and show you. And also you're taking with respect to mean. Mean means it is your average. Either you can change it to median also. You can change it to median also. Now see, this is your output. This is your final output. And I want you all to tell, Rakesh, to tell this. Out of this 5 clusters, which cluster is my top 1 cluster? Rakesh, tell me which one is your top tier 1 cluster based on this output. And I want your answer based on all the 6 columns. Based on all the 6 columns average scores. Which is your best top 1 university cluster? And this is generic common sense question. Consider Rakesh, you got 98% or 99% in your exam. Which university or which group of universities are you going to apply? That is my question. I want only Rakesh to answer this first. If Rakesh is not there, then I'm going to choose randomly somebody else. Rakesh got 99% in previous exam. You want to choose engineering. Which group of universities is he going to choose? That is my question.
Group 1 has the highest grad rate.
Yes, group 1 is highest. But why group 1, Rakesh?
That's what it has highest graduate and 91.875.
So what? So I told you, right? You should not only see with respect to one, you should see with respect to all the columns.
Okay.
So your answer is correct. Your answer is correct because you are choosing based on graduation rate. But let me explain you this in a simpler way. So I'm going to choose group 1 as my best cluster because this is having highest SAT score. Because you got 99%, you'll only choose for. So if you get 99%, will you choose top college or worst college, Rakesh?
Top college.
Top college. So your SAT score is high. Consider your CT score is this much and you are the topper and you're going to top cluster. And in your previous academics, you are in top 10. You're in top 10 students. Yes, that is also very good because it is 90+%. And acceptance ratio is less. Is it positive or negative, Rakesh? Is it positive or negative, Rakesh? Acceptance ratio.
Acceptance ratio is less.
Is it good or bad for your academics?
It is. I mean, in my scenario, it is good because considering that my score is good, probability of acceptance is more. But
No, it is not probability. So, 1 second. It is not probability of your acceptance ratio. It is your acceptance ratio. So Bharat, can you tell me? It is actually it is Rakesh. Wait 1 sec. Bharat, can you tell me is it positive or negative for this? Bharat,
I think it's a negative, Yogesh.
why it is negative?
If more
Rakesh?
the acceptance
Bharat?
ratio,
Uh-huh.
then they are not they are not
But here
following
it is.
rules and regulations, something like that.
No. Acceptance ratio is something like this. Try to understand. Acceptance ratio means out of 100 students applying, only 23 students are getting seat into this group of universities.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, right? Obviously, consider that you get 99%. You'll apply for IITs. IITs, how will be the acceptance ratio? Will everyone get the seat in IIT?
No.
No, very less number of people
Marginal.
get, right?
Yes.
entrance
Yes,
exam.
this is positive. This is positive. What about your student faculty ratio? It is 9.37. Is it good or bad?
It's good.
Good.
I mean,
Yes.
it's not the
It's
best
good.
among the values we have there. So among the second best.
Yes, among the second best because it is 9 and 9.37. For every 9 students, you are having 1 faculty. And this is your expenses. Obviously, expenses will be high. If you want to get into in Bangalore, visit, or if you're talking about IITs. Obviously, your fees will be slightly higher if you want to get into best universities. And graduation rate. And graduation rate is also very high compared to all the other universities. So I'm going to choose this first one as my best university. Best university cluster. So which one is your last worst best tier 4, tier 5 clusters? Tier 5 clusters.
71 points.
No, you should tell me the cluster number.
Group 2.
Group 2?
Group 4.
Group 2 or group 4? That is the reason I'm asking you. It is group 4.
Group 4
because
acceptance is 70 actually.
Acceptance is 70 means almost everyone who are applying to this college, 70% of them are getting seats. Is it a good sign or bad sign?
If they out of 100 students, they're accepting 70 means
Yes.
even the average students also they're accepting.
Failed students also they're accepting like that. Means just pass students also they are accepting.
Yeah, average. Yeah.
Yes, and you can see the fees is also very low. Fees is also very low, and graduation rate is also very low. And if you see the student faculty ratio, for every 19 students, one faculty, that is also very high. And you can see only top 10 students were there in 38% of the top 10 students were there in top 10 in their previous academics. Previous academics. Clear?
Yogesh,
Yes.
Yogesh, I think expense plays a very important role in understanding what is better, because you might
Yes.
score 99%, but you don't have enough money
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get
For
into a tier
example,
1 college.
yeah. So if my question was, if I want you to select based on expenses, if I want you to select, then you might tell that this is best, right? Because expenses plays more important role. And if I
No, I'm
if I tell you,
considering all the parameters.
if you are
So
considering
let's
all the
say,
parameters, yes,
yeah. So let's say I have scored 99%, but
yes,
I don't have enough money to get myself admitted. Let's say I do not have $40,000 to get admitted into tier 1 college. Then
fine.
I might have to, yeah.
But the thing is, you should see other parameters also, right? Will you see only with respect to the fees? See, consider that there is one more parameter called as placement ratio. Placement ratio is 38, 90%, 80%, 70%, 60%. Which one will you choose now? 38% will you choose, even though expense is less?
90%.
You'll try, right? If not first top one, you'll try at least for top three.
That is
I think it depends on the situation or the question.
Yes. Yes. So that is the reason I did not ask you with respect to only one criteria. If I ask you only on one criteria, so consider that now I'm going to give you a criteria. You should choose your best institute based on graduation rate. So which one will you choose?
Group 1.
1 or 3 you will try. 1 or 3 you will try. Right? Like that. If I tell I want you to choose based on only minimum fees, minimum expenses, which one will you choose?
Group 4.
Like this. It depends on what is your situation and what is your expectation and what are your possible scenarios. So it depends on what we are considering. So this is how. Can we consider always as primary, always first column remaining secondary parameters? So you cannot consider as only first one as your first primary. So now it is SAT score is here. Suppose your SAT score was in your third column, then will you consider this? No. So it depends on your business scenario, Muralidhar. Don't go with only column wise. You should think whichever is having more weightage. More weightage, that one you should consider as an important factor. So as of now, this becomes your important factor and this becomes important factor, and later everything comes into picture.
Yogesh,
So this is
are there any influential factors here which helps in deciding a particular group?
Yeah, that is what I'm telling you.
I'm saying when you take a general, not particularly, for example, I'm saying overall. Are there any, if I have to decide one, are there any influential factors here that I have to consider as a thumb rule?
No.
Or
No. As of now, there is no thumb rule. They will not tell you the thumb rule. It is like that because your client should specify, I want you to group my clusters based on graduation rate or based on SAT score or based on expenses. They should give this. There is no thumb rule.
Okay.
There's no thumb rule. Your business should specify you're going to have based on graduation rate or based on the expenses or based on this or based on this. Whatever they are going to tell, based on that, you should group them and give. Got it? Any questions? And this for freshers, especially if anybody is having only 1 year experience and they want to showcase 1 year experience in their CV, they should know linear regression, logistic regression mandatory, and clustering regression mandatory. In clustering, two algorithms, k-means hierarchical,
Hierarchical.
logistic simple, multiple, linear, multiple, simple. So this 6 algorithms is mandatory for freshers, and if you're having 1 year experience, wait for 2 to 3 more days. We are going to complete one more algorithm called as dimensional reduction technique. Dimensional reduction technique. After that, you can practice on this and you can prepare your CV. If you are having 1 year of experience, if you want to showcase just 1 year in data science, you should know these 4 concepts, very, very important concepts. For others, you need to wait for some more time. Clear for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, Devanshu, then easily you can start applying after this week only. You start preparing for your this thing. I'll try to help you for placements. And how many years of experience do you have, Lahari?
Total 3 years experience.
Total 3 years. Fine. Then you have to wait. Anybody else less than 1 year of experience? Overall experience? No one, I guess, right? So others, please practice as of now, and probably we'll complete 2 more algorithms this week. So what I'll do is, now I've completed with respect to k-means clustering and non-hierarchical clustering. So Rakesh, you need to wait, because that's the reason I did not ask for 2 to 3 years of experience. I asked only between 0 to 1. You have to wait, Rakesh. And also you need to practice. So once you are ready with that, we'll try to refer for some companies. Already we have got some requirements from some companies. We are processing on that.
Sure, Yogesh. Thanks.
Okay. And
Yogesh,
Devanshu, are you from Bangalore? Okay. If possible, we'll try to meet this weekend, Devanshu. You can just ping me on WhatsApp Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yogesh, we didn't receive the R file or previous classes. Only we got the recordings only.
No, hierarchical clustering and non-hierarchical clustering. Today I'm going to send you, because I've not yet completed non-hierarchical. So that's the reason I did not send you. Today I'm going to send you.
Okay.
And one more thing is, so next 2 algorithms will complete predominantly in R itself. Again, after these 2 algorithms, we jump into Python. Same Python clustering. Then same 2 algorithms will complete. Again, we'll come back to concepts and R. Again, it will be Python. Like this, we are going to complete both R and Python simultaneously. So today I'm going to send you this data sets and also your code. Don't try to copy paste the code. If you try to copy paste the code, you'll not learn. I'm telling you now itself, don't try to copy paste. Try to practice it by typing. Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Yogesh. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Bharat, 1 second. Bharat, are you there?
Yeah, Yogesh. Tell me.
Bharat, how many years of experience you have, Bharat?
7.5.
Okay, fine. Then you have to wait until and unless you complete the entire course along with your project.
Okay, sure.
Okay, fine.
Thanks, Yogesh.
Thanks.